Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, the weather turned out pretty nice today. I think actually better than expected. It's a little warmer than they had predicted. The skies are nice and clear and sunny, so not complaining about that at all. So there's been a lot of earthquakes in the last, 24 hours or so. A big one off the coast of Japan. They had tsunami warning for a while, almost a 7.0. A big one up in Russia and Alaska, several other places. A lot of pretty large earthquakes recently. Probably has something to do with all the solar activity. Been several solar flares, several X-class solar flares just in the last week or two. So, who knows? I mean, that's something, if you live anywhere near where there could be an earthquake or there could be a volcano, that should also be kind of part of your preparedness plan, because those are quite devastating there. If you think you're in kind of the potential, threat of one of those. Anyway, so the president announced that he's going to issue a $12 billion bailout to farmers because farmers are hurting so bad because of the tariffs. But don't worry, they're taking tariff money and paying the farmers. So we're going to we did the tariffs, and that made it really hard for farmers. So we're going to take all the taxes that we took from you so we can turn around and give it to the farmers. It makes no sense, really. I mean, if there just wasn't tariffs to begin with, probably wouldn't need to be bailing the farmers out. But hey, I'm just an old hillbilly, so what do I know? The peace deal between Thailand and Cambodia, so they say it's done. It's over. It's broken. War is now commenced. So, unfortunately, that's one of the ones that the president has been saying, that he brought peace to an area. So that didn't last too long, it looks like. And of course, there's always some other kind of garbage. I heard today, speaking of tariffs, the president was doing a little cabinet meeting, press conference, I don't know what it was. And he was talking about tariffs, and the way he was talking, he wasn't talking to the cameras, he was talking to like the people sitting around him. I think he really does believe that these foreign countries are paying tariffs to us. So like when we put a tariff on, Chinese knickknacks, that it's China that's paying us the tariffs. I'm starting to think that he really believes that. He was talking about tariffs on Indian rice, and he's like, so they're not paying their tariffs. Then we got to make sure that they're paying those tariffs. They're not paying those tariffs. You and I are when you go buy rice. Anyways, other thing that we'll see. So Russia, this is the Russia-Ukraine thing. So apparently the president was upset with Ukraine earlier today because Ukraine was still, not willing to give up, I think, the Donbass area of Ukraine. They were kind of holding out on that. So that was news this morning. The president was getting frustrated and upset with Ukraine for that. And then this afternoon, Putin and Russia said that they are rejecting the peace plan that Trump and his administration has tried to put together. So both sides are saying no. Both sides are saying they're not interested in this peace deal. It's not a good deal for either of them. They're both rejecting it. So we'll see. And then the final thing to talk about, it's not. Maybe it'll be a short video. Maybe not. I may get pretty ranty on this next one. So I know I've been talking about AI a lot because I think it's serious. I really do. I think it is. It's going to be way more revolutionary than the locomotive, the automobile, the computer, the internet, the any of that kind of stuff. It's going to change humanity in many ways, and it's going to change probably eternity for a lot of people. That's just my own little opinion. So anyways, the president stated today that he is signing an executive order that unifies the regulations on AI, and it will prohibit states, individual states, from passing their own legislation on AI regulations. So whatever state you're living in, let's say they want to pass some regulation that AI can't do this, has to do this, whatever. This executive order, which is not a law, says that they can't. So we'll see how this works out, because like a state can do that because that's an actual law. Like if a state legislator passed something like that, then that's actual law, right? Whereas an executive order is not law. An executive order is just a memo, basically. It's basically an inter-office memo, right? It's an inter-office memo from the president to the departments and areas of government that's under his control. The FBI, the FDA, the CDC, all these different cabinet level departments. An executive order is just supposed to be to those departments and say, this is how I want you to run things. That's what an executive order is supposed to be. So we'll see what happens with this. If it gets down to states' rights, I think that this is serious. He's saying that they need one rule, one piece of legislation. And on one hand, I can kind of see that. It would be really difficult to near impossible for, let's say, ChatGPT to have different standards and regulations for each state. So I don't even know how they could make that work. So if you're in this state, you get this kind of AI, and then if you cross a state line, it's now, I don't know. So from a business logistical sense, I get it. But there's also the other side that basically all regulations, all laws, all control of AI and development of AI is meant to be done at a federal U.S. government level, not state level. That's basically what they're saying. And I do have a problem with that. I have a great problem with that. And when he posted this thing talking about this, he once again started talking about how his goal is to make the United States the capital, the top dog when it comes to AI. And again, from a business standpoint, I see that. I say, well, if we're not number one, someone else will be, and then we have no. But then again, it's like, well, it's inevitable, folks. It was written in the scripture, and it's to this point that the development of artificial intelligence, especially, general intelligence, high intelligence, is inevitable at this point. Because everyone's working on it. And even if the United States says, hey, we don't want any part of this, this is evil, this is destructive, this is bad, well, everyone else are going to develop it, and then you're stuck with it. So that's why I'm trying to get the point across to you folks, is that we're way past the point of no return on this. Like, unless there's some type of crazy big CME that knocks us back to the Stone Age or to the Dark Age, and it would have to be planet-wide. This is going to happen. There's no way, even if there is an AI bubble and the technology isn't quite growing as fast as they'd hoped, and there's a little bit of a burst, that doesn't mean it collapses and stops existing. It may mean we go through a little bit of a slow period, which is like most things growth does. You have a big burst of growth, and it slows down a little bit, and it almost looks stagnant for a little bit, and then all of a sudden the burst of growth happens again. And so even if that happens, it's still coming at us. They're not going to stop. It'd be like saying, well, computers was just you know, a lot of good out of them, but a lot of bad. Let's just reverse that and stop making computers and take all the computer technology away. It's not going away, folks. You know, it's not. And so we have to be planning, preparing for this. And I don't know that anyone has all the answers on that. You know, I know that one answer is to just live primitive. But that's not a real good answer for most people. There's the answer of, well, try to use and control the technologies for as long as you can. And that, if you have the knowledge to do that, it's not a bad answer. But that's only going to last for a certain time also. Because at some point, all the little workarounds, the little hacks and stuff that people are doing aren't going to be effective anymore. Because the AI itself will be too big, too rapid, too powerful that you won't be able to work around it. So there is no real good answer right now. We have to just keep preparing, praying, building community. I think community is going to become more and more and more vital to all this, because it gives you that strength in numbers, that safety net to fall back on. And so I really do. I think your faith in the Father, your prayer, scripture reading, strengthening your spiritual walk, and then, you know, building community. I think those are going to be some of the most important things that you can do. And I think it's coming at us pretty fast. So get ready, folks. Get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.